A great deal has been made of two ideas when it comes to the law of attraction: raising vibrations and letting go or detachment. The problem is that those ideas have become techniques to be practiced and perfected, like a world-class pianist might practice a great concerto, perhaps. But most of us will never be the equivalent of world-class pianists, and besides, you want whatever you want now, not after years of practice. In this video, I'm going to explore both those ideas because I believe they're related, and how you can turn yourself into a manifesting magnet for just about anything you desire instantly. As usual, if you've watched any of my previous videos, it's all effortless. Keep watching for the next 10 minutes or so, and I'll spill all the beans. Hi, I'm Trevor, and because of certain events in my early life, like losing my mother to cancer when I was 9, and then going through a bad marriage breakup and accumulating a mountain of debt, the law of attraction, which I came across in the early 90s, seemed like the answer to all my prayers. So I diligently practiced every technique I was told to. The results were sporadic at best, and often nothing happened at all, which always seemed to be at the times when I was most desperate. Gradually, over time, however, a pattern emerged, which was that whenever I'd reached a point of being so frustrated, I'd throw my hands in the air and mentally give up, trying to manifest whatever it was, things would straighten themselves out. Money would appear. A new relationship would show up, often in the most bizarre and unexpected ways, certainly unpredictable ways. Eventually, I noticed this pattern and began experimenting with it, and it worked. It was no longer random. This way of attracting money, love, happiness, and success was, and is, reliable. I've been very happily married since 2006, and the story of how I met my wife could almost be made into a Disney movie, and money flows in abundance into my life these days. It took a while before I was able to explain it in words. After all, effortlessness sounds a bit like doing nothing, which is kind of hard to write about. But there is a bit more to it than that. If you'd like to know more about my effortless way of manifesting, then I have a free ebook called Let's Manifest a Ferrari, which you can get a copy of by clicking the link in the description below. I think most people watching this video would recognize the experience that letting go or detaching from an outcome makes it far more likely to happen. Haven't we all had experiences where we say, I'd given up, but then suddenly it all just happened? In fact, during my years working in the National Health Service, I frequently came across families with 2 children, the first of whom had been adopted because the parents had been unable to conceive and had, you guessed it, given up trying. And the second child? Yeah, a natural pregnancy, which occurred after they'd adopted. This has actually been studied. I found one study on ScienceDirect.com which showed that slightly more than 10% of the women in the study had become pregnant after they'd adopted. Now, there's obviously a lot more to the science behind that, and it's well beyond my remit here to make any further claims about it. I simply offer it here as a very real-life example that letting go can seem to be a factor in influencing what happens. If you'd like to read that study for yourself, I'll put a link in the description. But there's another important point about letting go, which doesn't need any scientific proof, which is simply and perhaps obviously that when you let go, you relax, so you feel better. And that's why I consider that letting go and raising vibrations are inextricably linked. Let's take 20 seconds to try a little thought experiment. Are you willing to have a go? Okay. All I want you to do is respond to the few things I'm going to call out with higher or lower. Just see if you know instinctively when your vibrations are raised or lowered. Ready? Okay. Higher or lower? Worrying about money. How about looking forward to a holiday? What about playing with a cat or dog? Next one, booking an appointment with the dentist. Okay, last one. Remembering a romantic evening with a hot date. This isn't rocket science, is it? There's no technique involved here. The problem is, if you try to hold on to happy thoughts, then it becomes a technique. Not only do you find that you can't sustain it, but also you start worrying that you're not doing it right or doing it enough, and so on. In the end, guess what? Yes, your only option is to let go of that too. Clearly then, the secret to letting go or raising vibrations is not to force yourself to deliberately think about positive things. It has to come naturally. And I touched on this in a way in my book, The Book of Being, available on Amazon. But let me give you some key pointers here. In order to understand the principles behind letting go, you need to understand where the experience of wanting comes from. Suppose you badly want some more money, or you're sick and tired of being alone and you want to find a new lover. What does your brain do at such times? It goes into overdrive, trying to make sense of why you are where you are. Don't be hard on your brain. It's doing what brains are designed to do. It's making sense of the world it perceives. But what that means is that it's going to find a bunch of reasons why you don't have the money or the lover. For me, it was constantly reminding me that I was no good at manifesting. So I'd try to get better. More effort, more zero result, more feeling like a failure. Can you see the vicious cycle here? But the whole thing comes about because we have a fundamental misunderstanding of how manifesting works. Again, for a fuller dive into this point, grab yourself a copy of my free ebook, Let's Manifest a Ferrari, by clicking on the link in the description below this video. Once you shift this simple yet profound misunderstanding, you will let go, and your vibrations will rise immediately and naturally. So let me tell you what this misunderstanding is. It comes from the idea, which is very ancient and easy to see why we would believe it, that there's a power outside ourselves that brings about the manifestations. Call it God, the universe, higher intelligence, whatever you want. But there is a persuasive illusion that you and I are very, very small, and that it is very big and powerful indeed. Every civilization since the dawn of humankind has pretty much believed in something bigger than themselves controlling their destiny. So you're definitely not alone. And there doesn't seem to be much question that we can't, for example, stop death from occurring or aging. And whilst we as a species may well be doing some serious harm to the world's weather patterns, it's also true that there have always been droughts and floods and famines, not to mention storms and earthquakes and erupting volcanoes. There is a big powerful force out there, or there may be many of them, but that's the same force that gave you and me life. And with our particular version of life comes awareness. From that life force springs your experience of, well, life. In fact, it wouldn't be too far-fetched to say that your life force is experience. You can't have an experience without being alive, and you can't experience anything without giving it some meaning. That meaning comes from thoughts you think and emotions you feel, which go together like the head and tail of a coin. But you are not your thoughts. I've said this before, but I want to try and say it in a way that you get how important it is. So let me put it this way. When you talk about yourself, you never say, I am a body, do you? You might say, I have a body, but you know your body isn't actually yourself. Same with your memories. You'd never say, I am my memories. You'd say, I have memories, or more commonly, simply, I remember. Same with your personality. You would say that you have a personality, not that you are one. And it's the same with your thoughts and feelings. You never say, I am a thought. You say, I have a thought. And with feelings, you say, I have a feeling. You have all those things. There's a part of you that's aware of them, but none of them are you. None of them are yourself. But you'd agree, wouldn't you, that you're aware of having a body, memories, a personality, thoughts and feelings, right? You're aware of them. Well, who's aware? That's the self. The invisible core of you is pure awareness, all of which leads you to see, I hope, that when you want something, the process goes like this. First, you become aware of the feeling of wanting, of strong desire, let's say. Then you'll become aware of your thinking around that desire. Maybe you think you can have it, and if it's a snack from the fridge, that's quite possibly the end of the matter. No need to invoke a higher power there. But when it's something that you think or believe is out of reach, something that costs a lot of money, or a person you feel romantically drawn to but who isn't reciprocating, then you look around for help. And that's when you start listening to your head and all the swirl of thoughts telling you how it's impossible and that people like you can never have something or someone like that, and so on. But now you're armed with a piece of knowledge that's going to change your life. You know that you are not your thoughts. So notice them, but ignore them. And the power of the universe, the power called life, which is already inside you, will start to guide you. It nudges, it whispers, it can come to you in idle moments, in the shower, or walking the dog, or just making a sandwich. Ideas, inspirations, insights, and yes, coincidences too. Just relax and follow where you're led. What you're letting go of isn't your desire to have your wish fulfilled, but all the crap thinking, excuse my language, that gets in the way of you moving towards it. And as you relax and let go, guess what else happens by default? Yes, you raise your vibration. Not a technique in sight. Now, I do know from personal experience that this takes a little getting used to, which is why I wrote Let's Manifest a Ferrari, where you'll see the effortless manifesting ideas all written out. It's short and very easy to read and even quite entertaining if I do say so myself. So help yourself to a copy of it by clicking the link at the top of the description. In the meantime, I hope this video has been helpful. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you very soon in another video.